Tonight we're talking about the film recently voted the most popular movie of all time. It was made back in the 1950s, in 1958 to be precise. So, what's the film and why is it so popular today? Well, it's a classic thriller directed by Alfred Hitchcock, and it is of course, Vertigo. The film stars James Stewart as Scotty, an ex-detective who has been forced to retire because of health problems, including vertigo. In the movie, he's hired as a private detective to follow a woman, played by Kim Novak, who's been behaving strangely. The thriller, based on a novel written by a French crime writer, is set in San Francisco and is beautifully filmed partly on location, as the hero follows the woman through the streets of the city. The plot of Vertigo was described by Hitchcock as boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy meets girl again, boy loses girl again, but in fact it's a very complex film which needs to be watched several times to be fully understood. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to tell you too much about what happens, but let's just say there's some romance and there are a couple of murders. One of the most famous scenes takes place on top of a church tower. The film is shot using a special camera effect, now known as the vertigo effect, which creates a confusion between fantasy and reality, and which reflects Scotty's mental state. The powerful soundtrack, written by Bernard Herrmann, also adds to the strange atmosphere. Although it received some negative reviews when it was first released, the film has since become more popular among critics than perhaps any other of Hitchcock's films. Like many thousands of people who chose this as their favorite film, I believe that Hitchcock has never been beaten as the greatest creator of suspense and mystery.
Have you seen this quiz about movies? In the first part, you have to recognize the actors by the part of the body.
Let me see. Oh, that one's easy. I think that must be Daniel Craig's neck and shoulders. What about this close-up of someone's mouth?
Well, it's obviously a woman, and someone with perfect teeth.
Ah, I recognize that smile. It must be Julia Roberts.
Do you know anything about this movie?
No, but from the picture it might be a horror film because that man has scary eyes. Or it may be an action movie because several people are running around with guns. It definitely looks violent.
Yes, but it can't be a serious horror film. It just looks too silly to me. I think it's probably a comedy.
Can you remember who made the Star Wars movies?
Wasn't it Steven Spielberg?
No, the only science fiction movie he's ever made was E.T.
But didn't he make Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Oh, yeah. You're right.
I know. It was George Lucas. What nationality is this actor?
Well, the previous actor who played Zorro was Antonio Banderas. It might be another Spanish actor.
No, I think it's Gael Garcia Bernal, the Mexican actor.
Oh, yes, he's excellent.
Do you know where The English Patient was filmed?
I know the story's set in Italy and Egypt, and I think they shot it in both places, although I heard they filmed some of the Egyptian scenes in Italy. For example, I think they used a hotel in Venice to represent the hotel in Cairo.
That's probably true. Apparently, the old Cairo hotel was destroyed in the 1950s. Yeah, of course I like to look fashionable, doesn't everyone? And it doesn't have to cost a lot if you're smart about it, but one thing that really annoys me is that the stores in the mall usually have the same clothes at the same time. That means customers don't exactly have a lot to pick from.
Well, not every color works for me because of my skin color, so I wish that the designers would think about that when they're planning their collections. What suits one person doesn't necessarily suit everyone. I like to wear well-made clothes too, so I don't mind spending a bit more on them.
I spend most of my money on clothes, and I don't feel guilty about it at all. I wish that the designers would consider people like me a bit more though. I'm really tall, and it's hard to find clothes that fit me properly. I suppose I'm lucky in that I can wear most colors well.
I think most people my age want to look good and wear fashionable clothes, and it's not hard because the stores are always full of the latest trends. I mostly shop online and can even have something delivered the next day. I do a lot of shopping, so that means that my bank account's not exactly in great shape. But, hopefully I'll find a cheaper way of staying fashionable.
I love clothes, and I always try to make sure that I've got the latest fashions. I buy most of my stuff in the local stores in town, just because that's easier for me. I don't spend a fortune on clothes, but it makes me mad when I get something and discover that it's poor quality.